circumstances is that she's not. She is a black woman who lost a black child. And because of Black Lives Matter, we have lifted up this child's name. I am convinced that if there was no Black Lives Matter, there would be no discussion of Waukesha Wilson.
Absolutely not.
If there was no Black Lives Matter, the Times would come here, plead with you like she did, and then be dismissed like you have.
Right.
So yes, there is a Black Lives Matter because Black Lives matter. And we are going to have to make that point over and over and over again because clearly to this community of people, Black lives don't matter. And I'm going to ask you to say her name.
Waukesha Wilson.
Say her name!
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 Waukesha Wilson.
It's time!
Next speaker,
The
please.
next speaker, Lisa Hines.
Good morning, my name is Lisa Hines. I've been here every week since my daughter died.
Can you turn her mic up, please?
I come before you guys and ask you, can somebody tell me something? I haven't heard anything. It was a month, the 27th of this week. She died March 27th, and it's May 3rd. And I haven't heard from anyone. I mean, I haven't slept. I haven't eaten. I don't know what to do. I mean, come on. It's an investigation. But they said she hung herself. So if she hung herself, if it was, they know for sure she hung herself, it should be a shut and closed case. Why is the investigation? Because she had an altercation with an officer before she passed. I mean, minutes before she died. I had talked to her. Then 10 minutes later, what, she died? But when I talked to her, she told me she was going to call me back later that evening. She told me to be in court on the 29th. She was thinking she was coming home. It don't make sense. And I haven't heard anything from anybody. Nobody. What really gets me is, I was calling the police station, and they was telling me they had to locate my daughter. They didn't know where she was. They were looking for her. And I asked them, how are you guys looking for her and she's in your custody? And all they said is, well, ma'am, we're trying to locate her. But they knew then that she was dead.
Yep.
They knew. That was one day. The next day, Wednesday, they give me a number to call, telling me to ask for investigations. When I call the number thinking I'm getting investigations, the coroner office answered. Why was that? The watch commander of the Metropolitan Center, he spoke with me. He couldn't tell me anything. He just said, ma'am, I just need you to call this number. I mean, come on. Is that any way for any parent to find out their daughter has died? Is it?
Shame.
Ma'am, thank you.
Shame.
Again, it was totally mishandled.
Shame.
We're working on our protocols.
Shame.
Working on protocols. Y'all been had protocols.
Shame.
If you continue to disrupt it, I've given the warning.
Man, please.
If the
The
meeting-
last time you gave me a warning, you arrested me. Don't give me warnings.
Stop with the
Okay, so you have
threat.
to leave.
Right.
I'm asking you to leave.
You're pushing a bad hand, mister. I'm talking to Matthew.
I'm leaving.
So you're pushing a bad hand.
Say her name.
Waukesha Wilson.
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 Don't
If the room becomes disruptive,
What you gonna do? Clear the room again, sucker?
Hands off Brother Keeling.
Hey, get your hands off him! Get your hands off him!
Hey, look, this is how you treat the public. This is what you do.
sir, you need to leave, please.
And don't call me sir. You know my name, sucker.
Say his name. Fucking punk ass rookie.
Just so that everybody know, Matt Johnson cannot go
Smarter than all you
and
guys.
continue this
I
movie without the
will clear
audience.
the room if it becomes disruptive.
We
No, you don't clear nothing. Your officers.
Ma'am, I understand you had a meeting scheduled with the chief last week and that was canceled. I really do encourage you to sit down with him and speak to him and hopefully he can give you some answers.
Answers?
I think, did I have a card?
Yes.
Okay.
Reminder.
This is the 5th commission meeting that we have attended where I specifically asked what the notification procedure is for an in-custody death. Now, I asked what the procedure is. I did not ask specifically what procedure occurred with Waukesha Wilson because we already know what Miss Wilson, Miss Hines experienced. The procedure we asked for should be able to be presented to us. It is not anything that's private or part of the investigation. There should be a procedure for any in-custody death. And I'm not sure if you were the assistant chief who was here on April 5th. And I'm sorry that Chief Beck is not here because we've asked him face-to-face 3 times. And at no time, and even you, Matt Johnson, asked for it. I believe the reason that LAPD does not want to share it with us is because it clearly was not followed. It clearly was not followed. We know that this is a bureaucracy and a military bureaucracy in LAPD, and there's a procedure for every single thing that occurs and is done. And we need that to see that procedure, as well as we need specific answers for her case. And you talk about protocol, but you don't give us any measures. What is protocol? We look on the agenda, we see investigations that are coming to you that are a year old, 18 months old. I think it's harsh to expect her to wait a year or 18 months for you to come up with the results of the investigation. And she did have a meeting. Chief Beck canceled it. Chief Beck sent an emissary, to speak with her, and she said she would speak with him, but she needed representation, and they said she should meet alone. She cannot meet alone. She is still grieving, so they should allow her to have a representative or her lawyer in that meeting.
I'll agendize for the next meeting a breakdown of our policy and procedures for investigating in custody deaths, so that the public understands the protocols that are in place.
Thank you. Mr. President, if I may, scheduled for next week will be a presentation from Force Investigation Division, which will cover the global work of Force Investigation Division, and included in that will be a piece relevant to the notification process.
Not just the notification process, but also the investigative protocols.
Correct. There will be.
Okay.
And the video presentation.
That's great. Thank you.
Exactly.
The next speaker, Pete White.
It's interesting, you never know where to start when you're standing before this commission. I was watching Django, Matt Johnson, before a lawyer in the entertainment industry, so I know you know about Django. And I saw Calvin Candle, and I...
Stop the timer for a second. Sir, you're going to have to sit down.
Why
Is not entitled to stand.
How am I going to get him speaking if I'm behind him?
You can either sit down or I'm going to ask you to leave.
Wait,
Like,
The choice is yours.
You can't film him like that.
5 cops, 6 cops about a picture.
Hey, let him take that chair right there.
Like, for real, you know what I'm saying? Like,
There's 3 open chairs right there.
and it takes as many goons to come at me?
Right there. You can sit down right there. There's nobody sitting there.
They won't let me.
Sir, please have a seat.
Too many of y'all reaching for your
Start the
guns.
clock up again.
Too many
Yeah,
of
restore
y'all.
at that time. So I was watching Django, as I said, Matt Johnson.
Uncle Ruckus.
And there were two characters, right, metaphorically, that spoke to me. It was Calvin Candle, that was the white slave owner, and Stephen. Much like Stephen Fetchit, the black dude who was sick before Calvin Candle was sick. And I thought that you were definitely a Stephen for this commission, for the mayor. The mayor is your Calvin Candle. Yes, boss.
Yes, sir.
The chief sat here and said that they had closed down a 30-year drug ring in Skid Row and caught the kingpin. My man was only 40-something years old, so was he dealing drugs for how many years? And why did it take the LAPD 30 years to close down on a 30-year drug ring? These are questions we have to ask. The chief ran across the street because he needs to make a budget presentation. He's calling for $10 million additional dollars in overtime, 525 additional police officers. He's calling for 150 civilian employees, 100 of which are detention officers. This department represents 54% of nearly $9 billion. We believe in public safety, but we don't believe in public safety that continues to build the police state. Public safety to us means public safety, well, let me say, no one knows more of economic insecurity and safety than us. Housing insecurity than us. Food insecurity than us. Political insecurity than us. All of these things that make us unsafe. Public safety means investing in all of those things and not continuing to build the police state. And not continuing to be a Stephen for Calvin Candle, Mayor Garcetti, and Chief Beck.
Following General Anthony Radcliffe.
General Dogan, the other candidate. Why, yes, we believe in public safety. And we all want our community safe. However, LAPD has yet to know what public safety is because you're so busy damn doing private safety, protecting the 1%. You will pick me up off the ground and throw me up against the wall, but you won't pick me up off the ground and throw me into some houses. And you will handcuff me and arrest me, all the while declaring that you are rescuing me. Our version of public safety is so clearly not the same as yours. We need house keys, not handcuffs. And we need a job to go with that house key. Public safety to me is no more LAPD. Get the hell out of our community.
House keys, not handcuffs.
President Pastor Q. Jean Marie.
Good morning, I'm Pastor Q from the Skid Row community, the Church Without Walls, also part of the Black Jewish Justice Alliance and Creating Justice. The fact that you guys expect people to come in here and be calm speaks to me, and it says that your hearts have been desensitized to Black lives. People are dying and you expect us to come in here and be calm. Regarding Holman United Methodist Church, I do believe that Jesus went into the temple and flipped over tables of the oppressors who were using the people to get rich. When we say Black Lives Matter, you guys say all lives matter. When we say meet with us, you say we meet with all groups. But all groups are not being killed. Black lives are being killed. Black lives are being murdered. Waukesha Wilson, Sandra Bland. The system continues to destroy us. LAPD is a microcosm of our foreign policy. $40 billion towards Israel. That's what we have asked to send to Israel. Yet we can't house people on Skid Row. $40 billion to give elsewhere because black lives, Latino lives, poor. And then when we come here, we come to a fortress because we fear a just city. Because if we have a just city, then that means we will have to look at things specifically and not generally.
Next speaker, Charles DuBois. Followed by Michael Novick and Michael Williams.
This is to talk about how her daughter was killed, disrespected, and how she was taken out of the equation. Okay, the young brother named Mario Romero was killed in Vallejo back in 2012. And generally what we discover is when the police do something wrong, what's the corresponding factors that give the surviving family a really hard time about nothing. Okay, for a whole month, Cynthia Mitchell could not see her son Mario Romero's body. They would not let her see her, okay. They were having police harass the family. Anyway, let me get onto this. What I want to say is that I'm really impressed with all this state decorum and transparent talk about transparency. I left LA in '77. I've just been back here about a couple of years, and there was talk back then about police review boards and stuff. And this is a real argument why they're useless. This is not the place to come for justice or even answers. I mean, look, the sister came here. Black lives come here, and you guys, your job is to make things hard but have no answers. And see, I don't really want to talk. I'm not here to talk to you. It's like, look, what I want to share is like, okay, we all know this happened nationwide. And we're asking the police who can't police themselves and who kill us to get reviewed by this commission of nice-looking suits. We need to rely on ourselves. I'm not going to get more specific than that, but I'm just here to notice that, you know, that there was Jerry Lee Amy, who got shot in '65 before the Wash Rebellion. I'm sorry. See, I get them all mixed up. Deadwater. Jerry Lee Amy, they shot 29 times. They had 6 shooters in those days. So they emptied their revolvers in them, and then their shotguns. That was in '71. He was a Vietnam veteran. My time is up to get y'all.
Yeah. Michael Novick.
Let me go up before they skip me.
Michael Novick for White People for Black Lives. I come here and I comment week after week. I think my idea is to somehow prick your conscience or ask you if you have no shame, but it's clear that you are shameless. You have no shame. You sent Willie Williams to Philadelphia to the funeral of you're saying Charlie Beck to Philadelphia to the funeral of Willie Williams, and you couldn't send Charlie Beck to the funeral of Lakeisha Wilson to express his condolences to the family and his regrets for what happened. You're trying to hide behind the protocol and policy. You know, business as usual. Let me tell you that I lost my stepson 9 years ago. My life has never been the same. I hope you never have to suffer the consequences that this family is suffering. But if you did, you would have some ounce of human empathy. You sent Willie Williams, Chief Beck, across the hall to the LA City Council. You should have sent this guy. Let Moore go over there. Let Williams, let Beck face the music and respond to the community. He gave a report and then he walked out. We have a report. He left at 10:30. It's ridiculous. You know, many years ago, I did a study of police review boards around the country. And I discovered that all of them had become captive of the police departments that were supposed to be you. But you're not a review board. You're the policy board. You run the police department. You have the power to change the policy. If the protocol is interfering with human decency, change the fucking protocol. You know, it's ridiculous. You think that hiding behind these things are going to make any difference? The people are here to express their grief, to express their sorrow, to express their outrage. And all you're doing is increasing their grief, increasing their outrage. So think again about what you're doing and the role you're filling and what impact it's having. Willie Williams, they brought him in because there was a rebellion here in '92. And then they tried to bring in community policing, which is just a way to control the thinking of the people in the community. It's time to control your own thinking, control your own officers.
I'll keep my own time. So we have a lot of talk about public safety, right? Like everybody thinks that policing is public safety. The way things are going, that's just the way they have to be. I want to present some stats to you. Police killed around 1,100 people in the U.S. in 2014. That's a skewed number. A lot of people have comments and say, that it's not accurate. But every stat that's been done about people who have been killed in the United States has it around 1,000 people. In Afghanistan, only 58 U.S. troops were killed in Afghanistan in 2014. So that's a good stat for our troops. Like, yeah, they're protecting them. Not a good stat on the police in our country because they've killed astronomically more people than people who are in an active war zone. Okay. Now, if we look at our police compared to the rest of the world, okay, if we look at developed countries that have police agencies, well, only 14 people were killed in Canada by law enforcement in 2014. Think about that. So 1,000, compare 1,000 to 14. That's less people that have been killed in Los Angeles. In the UK, only one person was killed in 2014. 0 people were killed in 2013. That's in the entire country. Okay? And China, who has 4 times the population of the United States, okay, law enforcement only killed 12 people in the entire country. Let me say that again. In the entire country, only 12 people were killed by the police. 2 million people. From 2013 to 2014 in Germany, only 0 people were killed in Germany by the police. Absolutely none. Again, in the entire country. Okay, in Iceland, in the history of the police, in the absolute history, only 1 person was killed, and the whole country mourned for weeks because of the acts of violence. Stop believing that public safety means police officers using deadly force to kill us. Right. Stop believing it, because it's a misnomer.
Next to Mary Saba.
Got to her out.
You kicked her out. Mariela Saba may not be physically present, but her spirit is here, and she lives and she resides in all of us. So when we speak, Mariela Saba speaks as well. I think it's always interesting listening to the Chief's report, and of course it's Michael Moore now, that the report that we get is so glossed over that it only talks about these fancy things that we're doing. Nowhere did he mention that LAPD just got sued last month because of the murder they committed last year, and they tampered with the witness's video. They took the video, the witness, into custody, and they deleted the video as well. Nobody did the chief say about that LAPD just got sued. Nowhere did the chief say that LAPD is already leading the country this year in killing the most people. 7 or 8, depending as to whose statistics have been. And Michael, the stats you were talking about, 2015 was every 7 hours and 41 minutes. Cops were killing somebody in the United States. LAPD was leading the nation. It led the nation with 21 killings.
That's more than an entire free
world. So
world.
the chief sits there and gives us his report. But I think it's also appropriate for the chief to do that, because the report that he's giving to are the tools and the agents of a system. Matt Johnson, you're not going to look at me when I'm speaking to you, right? Because obviously, you are struggling yourself. That's what Mariela Saba is going to tell you. That you're struggling with yourself. You're struggling with your inner being, because what is happening now is that it is very clear that whether you're a tool, whether you're an agent, whether you're a shock absorber, or whether you just sit there, do mask and rubber stamping. But the point here is that you've started this new narrative of disruption. Well, let me just tell you one thing. This is not the beginning. This is not the end. It's an ongoing disruption of the system. What we are doing is nothing new. There were people before us, and there are going to be people after us. Because we will discredit you.
We will neutralize you. We will dismantle you. We will disrupt you. Regardless of whatever Steve Soboroff Club is doing, you will be dismantled. You will be dismantled.
The last speaker will be Walt Fears.
I'm sure Chief once said about me, I don't want to my job. Unless you bring
Run away, public.
Smoking gun, don't bring testimony to my jail. Now, I was arrested 2 weeks ago, and I went to your jail. Here's what I found out. The telephones don't work. They don't work.
That's right.
And you know what? The law says if the telephones don't work, you can't make a phone call. The police have committed a misdemeanor. Also, when it comes to notifying my next of kin, because I've been unconscious every time I go to jail, they don't ask who your next of kin is. They don't ask who should be contact in the event you come incapacitated in any form. Incapacitated to extreme. They don't ask that question. They ask whether you're gay or homosexual,
They do.
or whether you're straight.
I've been in that
But
jail.
they don't ask whether or not there's someone we should notify in the event of your death. So there is no policy about in-custody death because they set up no situation to respond to in-custody death. There's no way to notify the next of kin or relative or even a friend. So this is going to be very interesting next week when you discuss your policy. Because if you have a policy, you're not exercising it with the inmates who come into jail. Because I was there, I filled out the forms, I answered all the questions. And there's never one question about, what if you die, Hayes? Who should we tell about that? Who should we have come pick up the remains? No one. So there are going to be some lies told next week. Stand by, folks.
Stand by.
Here come the lies, the exaggerations, and the makeups. And the question is, how could this possibly be that you do not find out how to contact the next of kin?
Public safety. Public safety. I am somebody.
That's right.
I am somebody, Mr. Bustamante. I am somebody, Mr. Moore. I am somebody, Mr. Taylor. I am somebody to the rest of these commissioners. Lakeisha Wilson is somebody. Public safety. What does it mean to you? For me, you can drive your nice car to your nice house. That's what it means to you. What does public safety mean to me? Public safety to me means education, jobs, support system. That's what public safety means to me. Additional monies to put more cops, hire more detention officers. That doesn't sound like public safety. So, when you bring this idea of public safety to me, to my community, we have a right to tell you what is our idea of public safety. And if that idea doesn't meet your requirements, then there has to be a meeting point to where we can have an idea of what public safety is. Because obviously you guys have no idea what public safety is. Not to us. It doesn't mean more police on the streets. It means jobs, homes, education. That's what public safety is.
We're now on item number 4, regular agenda items. We do have a comment card for each item?
Would any of my fellow commissioners like a report on item 4A? Okay, I'm going to call upon it.
We have Wayne from Encino.
Yes, now we get to the serious issues of the day. Garage towing and storage services. Oh, yes. That's police commission business. Not going over to the Metropolitan Detention Center, which, thank you, on November 10th and 11th, I spent 13 and a half hours over in your hotel. You know, they got a lot of bed sheets all over that place. They got 2 levels. And if you go to the top of that level, it's real easy for a couple of people to tie some sheets and fucking hang you from the rafters. It's all over the place. Well, after they tow your car, and they store your car and book you, while your car's being stored, they're tying the fucking sheets together over there while your car's being towed and stored, and you can't make the bail. You're waiting on the phone for your bail commissioner, who doesn't fucking answer all day, while they're getting the sheets ready, so they can hang you from the rafters over there at the Metropolitan Detention Center. That's what they do. That woman didn't hang herself. She was executed because her police garage towing and storage services didn't apply. Because that's what I'm talking about, the money. Police storage, garage towing. Money, 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 money. One black woman don't give you money, so you hang her. You hang me. You tried. You held me for 13 and a half hours. You tried to break my fucking will. The only thing you did was embolden me. Like my old job I used to have in the 80s before I became civilized. So, fuck you and your fucking storage costs.
We have a motion on this item? For a second? All in favor? Any opposed?
Damn.
What did you vote on?
Doesn't matter.
Item 4B.
It was posted on Friday on the internet.
Commissioner wish to pull that item, or?
Yes, please.
So if you're able to
Inspector
read.
General's report dated April 27, 2016, relative to the 10-year overview of categorical use of force investigations, policy and training, update on status of recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioners. At the table in front of you is Special Investigator Alex Daniels, my office, working with me and Jago Sibley, who's unfortunately unable to be here because of sickness. She was also part of the next report, so she will stay up here. I want to give you a brief list of what those recommendations are. As you recall, on the report that we had done for you regarding the 10-year overview, the Commissioners had voted on 12 recommendations. During that meeting, we were asked to give an update on that, on those recommendations, the status update as we work with the department. We have worked with the department and we continue to work with them on all of the recommendations and some of the other stakeholders regarding the first and second recommendations. The status of each is listed in that report, and I'm happy to go over any of those items, and the department is also able to discuss the status of those if any of the commissioners should wish.
Thank you. The first and second recommendations are essential for a variety of reasons. And a number of the other recommendations hinge on us resolving the issues in items 1 and 2. So there's been one meeting with respect to revising use of force policy.
Yes, sir. So far there's been one meeting.
So it's been almost 2 months. I'm frankly disappointed that there's been only one meeting. I want to encourage this process to be sped up. I'd like regular updates on the scheduling of future meetings and how the process is going. I assume that all the stakeholders have been provided with the pre-existing, the pre-2009 policy. And have they been provided with the policies that have been enacted by other jurisdictions that have enacted de-escalation policies into their overall policy?
We are assembling all that information, the 2000, pre-2009 policy, as well as some training that references de-escalation, some of the other items the department has that references de-escalation, as well as a series of department policies from around the country that have that language. And we'll put that together, and in our next meeting, we are going to present that to the stakeholders in an effort to kind of see if we can drill down on some of the language and what may work for the department, and also to advise you on that status. But your recommendations or your comments now about the community status update and the like, we will do that, and I will, after this meeting, put together a calendar and work with my counterpart in the department to make that happen.
Is the next meeting scheduled?
It is not yet, sir.
Not yet, okay. So I appreciate you getting back to me with the schedule for the next meeting, and as you said, we should have a regular schedule of meetings to get this resolved.
Yes, sir.
This is embarrassing.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions. I simply want to reiterate your comments, my agreement with them. I too am disappointed that we're now almost 2 months out and are where we are. And I look forward to response to your requests and to our moving this forward more quickly. I think it's very important. Thank you.
Threatening to arrest him because he didn't do his work.
Well, she's being sweet. Use your mics. She has a voice.
Is there something that the commission needs to do to help the process along?
No, we were working closely with Chief Moore when he was in that position, and have been now working closely with Chief Villegas, and we'll get that done.
Threaten to arrest them if they don't do
Comments or
it.
questions? Okay, do I have a motion? Oh, wait, yeah.
We do have comment cards. We have 6 comment cards. We have Ted Hayes, followed by Francis Jenkins.
This is an embarrassment.
The very first department in this county was commending the behavior of the public on May Day. There was no semblance of what happened on May in MacArthur Park way back when. And in MacArthur Park, those people were attacked on an unlawful assembly, and it was shot with 3 different kinds of projectiles. I noticed on number 4, you want to limit the use of slugs in shotguns and things of that nature. That's a good idea. Because one woman lost her eye. I don't know what kind of projectile that might have been. But the police randomly fired into crowds. So, on your use of force, any attempt to fire tear gas canisters, because remember the guy named Ruben Salazar who was shot by the sheriff, who just fired through a open doorway that was covered by a drape, and he was killed by a tear gas cover. So when it comes to firing, particularly random, blindly, that should really be something training is invested in. So, yes, I'm pleased that you're going to be reviewing use of force tactics and procedures and methods in the coming weeks. But so far, we have history on our side to say you're way behind time. This is way off schedule. It should have been done many, many years ago. After May Day, I can't recall that year, but it was because of Pratt losing his job. So, use of force is a very important thing. The escalation's on your calendar. I have no idea how that works. Because you understand, officers are instructed to show a domineering force. Do not show weakness. Do not back down. Do not show any ability to compromise.
Prentice Jenkins,
Remember Susan.
followed by Michael Novak.
Remember who was Salazar. I don't.
Francis Jenkins, published the City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. Instead of talking about the use of force, let's take a look at actual use of force. This is a This is what we talk about in here all the time.
Well, we talked to the LAPD here at headquarters today. They couldn't comment on the video, and it's not even clear whether they've seen the video themselves. Now, shooting happened back in September, but today is the first time anyone is seeing this video that we know of. And we're going to show it to you now, not all of it, because it is pretty graphic. The video is disturbing, a fatal encounter that lasts no more than 20 seconds. Two division police officers pull up, get out the SUV, and draw their weapons. To the right, we see 37-year-old working officers, but she reaches a power pole with a parked car between them. The video shows the officer closest to her opening fire.
Wow.
His partner follows suit.
Both of them shot. That's Antis. That's Angie Guzman. The one that we're always talking about Angie Guzman. Well, you actually saw her. That was her last day on earth. They gunned her down. So she's not just a name. She actually existed. And she was walking towards the cops. And then they blew her away. That's called use of force. See, that's what we're talking about. Use of force is not just a statement. Do we know what type of use of force was involved in this young lady's incident, Waukesha Wilson? Do we have any idea what type of use of force was involved in her incident at the county jail? We'll never know because we won't get to see the tapes. We won't get to see the videotape. Only the cops will get to see the videotape. That doesn't seem right to me, but you know, I'm just a peon. We don't actually matter in here.
Michael Novick, followed by Hamid Khan.
Yeah, I want to say that, there are various kinds of force, and that if somebody comes up to me with a gun and a taser and a baton, that's a use of force. Every time the LAPD steps out anywhere, that's a use of force. If you have 600 police officers for 6,000 demonstrators for a peaceful march downtown, that's a use of force, where they laid a hand on anybody. When you have more cops than people in your meeting, that's a use of force. Then to intimidate and silence people from their right to freedom of speech. So when you're talking about use of force, it's not only the killings and the beatings, it's every single action that the LAPD takes place is a use of force. So you need to get that through your heads. I want to talk about use of force because the use of force at that level of killings and beatings is about impunity. You people found the killing of Ezel Ford out of policy. What happened? Did you do anything about it? Did you go to the district attorney and demand that you file charges? You found the killing of Brendan Glenn out of policy. Did you do anything about it? No. Did you go to the district attorney and demand they file charges about something even Beck said was a bad shooting? What is your responsibility for the actions of the officers under your charge and your control? What kind of example you said? You talked about de-escalation. Have you ever de-escalated anything that happens in this room? No. Or have you escalated it to the point of violence and arrest and kicking people out? Fish rots from the head.
Paying these people to sit here and be on their cell phones.
So, do you want to meet with any community members? You say stakeholders.
We're not stakeholders.
That's what you said.
You didn't meet. So, how can you claim that? Who are the stakeholders in this thing?
Yeah.
Because in each one of these things, it says stakeholders, including the city attorney and the police commissioner. Stakeholders, stakeholders, stakeholders. Who are the
Police
stakeholders?
Commission, which is a civilian commission, is the representative of the community in this
No, you're not.
Can you repeat that again, Matt Johnson? Who are the stakeholders?
That's the biggest lie you ever said.
Can you repeat it one more time who the stakeholders are? No, I think people didn't hear that. He said that the police commission is the stakeholders. These are the shock absorbers of the system, the tools of the mayor, the agents of the system are the stakeholders.
Shameless.
This department has a $5 million budget.
Billion.
I'm talking about the Office of the Inspector General. With the staff sitting back there.
Yeah.
And they're writing, your credibility is on the line. You are claiming meeting with the stakeholders. Many of you come from nonprofit industrial complexes, don't you?
Not me.
Because I know many of the staff who work at his office. How can you claim with a straight face? These are your careers. This is what they're doing to you. They're going to get your reputation discredited. You may claim it on your resumes, but this report is going to follow you because we will follow you guys. We will let the world know that this is what you call stakeholders. Did you know that since 2011, 0 bias report has been sustained? They're telling us we're a community of liars. Did you know that last year LAPD killed the most people in the country, 21? So who was on the receiving end of the use of force? These guys or the people, the rest of the community? So who are the real stakeholders? Don't do this. Don't do this. You guys are in the middle of your careers. Don't do this. They're going to mess you all over.
Just a double beat.
Thank you. Yes.
What did you say?
Pete White.
She the only one that projects the
So class, turn to page 2, number 5. We got to school you all. It's interesting. Number 5 says the commission directs the department to ensure that all officers assigned to the Resources Enhancement Services and Enforcement Team (RESET) in Skid Row be provided all specialized training prior to engaging in any enforcement action with the mental health or homeless community. Federal judge just 3 weeks ago, in a case that we're part of, found that in fact this department continues, something we know, continues to harm and deprive homeless and poor people of their First and Fourth Amendment rights. Right? This is the second time, third time, fourth time this has happened. Right? I think about Carlos Ocaño, Daryl Garrett, Brother Charlie Africa, and many others. Those are just names who were murdered on Skid Row. And it's interesting when I think about Carlos Ocaño and Brother Africa, who were murdered by LAPD, and LAPD knew they had mental health histories, and instead of sending out SMART teams, in Brother Carlos Ocaño's case, they sent out SWAT. The SMART team for the city of Los Angeles, which is 469 square miles, is actually housed in Skid Row. The SMART officers could have walked to the spot on 5th and San Pedro where this man was murdered before SWAT showed up. So when we look and see enhanced training, to us it says we need to train you how to kill them better and get away with it. Because all the training that you continue to say you're doing leads to our death. Bustamante, it ain't worth the paper it's written on.
Michael Williams.
So I have a recommendation to the commission since you guys said your disapproval, which means jack shit because you guys don't do anything. So it doesn't mean anything. But I have a recommendation. How about for every officer that is found out of policy, how about you guys fire that officer? How about that being a mandate? Because clearly, as you see, you just said that you represent the community, which is laughing. It's laughable. Because look who's sitting in the front. I see a rep, right? That's who the people that you answer to. That's the people that you respect. Everybody in the community sitting in the back.
Back of the bus.
And you say that you're a community. You represent the community. You say that with a bold face. I mean, it's literally laughable. Like this whole thing has not been a community-based thing. This community asked for you to do something about Charlie Africa, and you did not. This community asked you to do something about Giselle Ford, and you did not. How are you representing the community? So that's my recommendation. That you put in that in a policy, new policy change, that every officer that you guys find, give yourself some power. Because right now, you guys, I've said this before, you guys look like powerless idiots. Give yourself some power and make it that you guys, if you find someone out of policy, that officer should be fired. If they kill somebody in the line of duty because they were out of policy, right? Because they didn't follow protocol that you guys supposedly take, I think it's like 2 months training for a police officer, which is like the lowest training for anybody, to do anything. Basically, like, again, you're not community-based. So put that in a recommendation. I know you won't, but, I just not trying.
Putting aside the issue of what punishment is appropriate when someone is out of policy, our city charter is very clear that discipline rests with the chief. So it's not within our power to usurp the authority of the city charter. The city charter can be changed by a vote of the public, not by the...
Well, isn't he part of the public?
None of you are
So
voting.
basically, you're worthless. Final part. Mr. Hayes?
We spoke already.
Okay, that was the final part of this item, sir.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve this item?
Mr. President, if I may, do you want this to come back with utilities or an update at some point on the agenda?
Yeah, well, I would like regular updates on the progress every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, I'd like an update on the progress. So we should re-agendize this very issue every 2 weeks. Thank you.
And let's fire him if he doesn't do his job.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Yeah.
Agenda item 4C, Inspector General's report dated April 27, 2016, relative to the comparative review of selected agencies' policies, investigations, and training on the use of force, OIG interim report.
Thank you, Commissioners. Again, the table in front of you is Special Investigator Alexa Daniels from my office. As the Commissioner requested several months ago, my department, the Office of the Inspector General, to go to various departments throughout the country and examine their use of force policies, training, and investigative models. I had sent teams to three such locations, Dallas, Las Vegas, and San Diego. We still have one other location to go to. I've sent the team. We met with training cadre from each of those departments, their executive teams, also their investigative teams, to determine how they process and investigate a serious use of force, how they deal with issues like de-escalation, and some of the training methods that they use. This report is designed to be an interim report. Obviously, we will do a much more comprehensive one when we've finished up our review with Washington, D.C., which is the last department that we will be looking at. And in that final report, we will have a comparative analysis on all the various categories. But as of right now, this report lays out what some of the significant policy differences are, at least as it comes to de-escalation. It talks about the investigative protocol and some of the training that the departments do, and sets out kind of the general facts. Like I said, this is just an interim report. The other one will include much more analysis. And subject to any questions you may have.
Great, thank you. First of all, thank you for pushing this interim report forward. I know I've put a lot on your plate, and I appreciate you and your staff working double time to come up with this interim report. When can we expect the final report?
I believe our next our meeting with Washington, D.C. is later this month. So I would expect that once we have that, we should be able to get something to the commission in, I'd say, mid-June.
Mid-June, great. In terms of the use of force policies, the report indicates that several police departments have de-escalation requirements built into their policies. From what you've been able to examine thus far, are the policies similar?
There's some variety in the way they address that, but there's some key language in how they frame that issue. The different policies will always have in it language such as when safe and feasible under the totality of circumstances, when time and circumstances reasonably permit, and if time and opportunity permits. And they recognize that de-escalation is not possible in every situation, that it requires the officer to have time and distance and the ability to do it safely for themselves and safely for a potential victim. So that language is woven into each of the different policies that we saw, but there is some variability in the way they're right. Some more expansive and some much shorter.
And the policies from these various jurisdictions, is that being circulated amongst all the stakeholders?
We will. We're going to put a packet together with all of the policies. We're still investigating some of the other departments that have this. What we've learned is that moving to Las Vegas and talking with Las Vegas and Dallas, we were not the first ones that have gone there. Several departments around the country have gone there to examine the way that they approach de-escalation and some of the training, the reality-based training. We're still trying to get our arms around some of that. We're going to put together a complete package of all the different policies that are out there, including some of the pre-2009 policy language the department had, and we will put a packet together and present that to stakeholders. I will give, of course, you the commissioner an advance copy of that so that you know the exact language that.
Steak? That sounds good. I'm hungry.
That'd be great. I would definitely like to, I'm sure Commissioner Saltzman also would like to see, when you put that packet together, to see that language as well.
Yes, sir.
So I know a number of jurisdictions have had de-escalation built into their policies for several years. Is there any evidence that shows that it has either decreased use of force or caused a decrease in safety to officers, more officer injuries? Obviously, those two issues are very important to us to make sure that the point is to hopefully decrease the number of use of force while not putting our officers at greater risk. So have been able to get any information on those issues in the jurisdictions that have had these policies for some period of time now?
Specifically, we met with and talked with the executive teams for Las Vegas and Dallas. They have noticed a decrease in some of the types of uses of force, specifically involving mental health and some of the issues with edge weapons and the way that they approach some of these situations. They've also not seen, we have not been able to find any evidence that it has led to any increase into officer safety issues. In fact, the executive teams that we've talked to have been very happy with the changes and very supportive of that.
Great. In terms of the investigations, I know the way we do it, I know is held up as the standard around the country. I would be curious. I know this is something that obviously you're looking into as well. It would be great to have a grid that compares what we're doing to what other jurisdictions are doing in the final report. Obviously, how the investigations are conducted, resources, etc., as well as the other policies around it, like mandatory leave, required training, if there's any formalized process of evaluating the circumstances for lessons learned. It would be great to have a comparison of how we do it here at the LAPD, which I know is considered best in class compared to other jurisdictions. So if we could have that as a part of the final report, I'd appreciate it. And then in terms of the use of force training, it appears that both Dallas and Las Vegas have pretty extensive training that incorporates reality-based training. Can you explain their policy? Can you go into a little bit of detail about their training protocol?
And specifically for de-escalation, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department does a minimum of 4 hours of de-escalation training a year. They will do a variety of different training, but they will have a reality-based training with the role players, officers acting in different roles, and try to address issues that they're seeing that are problematic for their department, specifically mental health and some of the other related issues, in an effort to give the officers the most realistic training possible. And Dallas does something very similar to that. They have 8 hours of reality-based training for each year. For the officers for each year. This contains different scenarios, and most of them have a de-escalation component where the role player will adapt to the officer's commands in an effort to try to reinforce things or to deal with the officer safety issues. And I believe it's Dallas, too, that will send its team, its sergeant with all of the supervisees to do some of this reality-based training as a unit, so that when they work together in the field, they at least have that muscle memory.
It would be great to also have a grid comparing that to what we do as well. Time, the required amount of time for training, both academy and in service, and also looking at that the training in different categories, the reality-based training that you just described, which can be dynamic because you're dealing with actual people who will react to how the officer is reacting to them, versus FOSS training, versus classroom training or online training. So if we could break it up into different categories, that would be great. I'm happy to talk to you more about what I'm looking for online. And then the last question I have is regarding the less than lethal tools, particularly the extended range beanbag, the 40 millimeter launcher. Chief Moore, I know we're testing that system right now. Is that correct?
I have Mr. President. I have Deputy Chief Murphy here, who can briefly describe our efforts that are ongoing relative to evaluating 40 millimeter launchers and other less than devices.
Good morning, Deputy Chief Bill Murphy, Head of Police Sciences and Training Bureau. Yeah, to answer your question, we do. We actually have a 40 millimeter pilot program where we send it to PPD, which is they do the research. That's the first step. We've been here before on protocols for testing and evaluation. They've approved it. We had to send all of the people to post-certified training. They have their own less lethal school. We have done that. So we have picked in this report what divisions are going to get it. We're picking the officers. We should have that training conducted by DP7. We're almost at the end of DP5, so you're looking at about 4 or 5 weeks, and we'll start to roll that out.
Great. And this is, Chief Murphy, if you could explain, this is an expansion of that system to patrol officers.
Yes. Right now, Metropolitan Division officers have the ability to use an impact device, a 40 millimeter. We've had success. All of you have been involved in officer-involved shootings and uses of force, so you're probably aware of that. We just want to take that to the patrol level. That's what Dallas is doing. When I went to the SHOT Show, they actually have this whole in-depth training program for 40 millimeters. It gives them another option out in the field. We want to do that same thing. We want to test it first before we go to everybody. But we feel confident that our officers have the ability to use it appropriately, and we're excited about it. We're excited about that. We're also going to hotter gas. The OC gas that we have is we can get into really big details and technicalities, but we go a little bit hotter, so the impact of the actual gas may be more effective. We're testing that too.
When is there's a second report that we're doing on less than lethal tools. When is that? Do you have a sense of when that will be available?
We have met with the department, specifically use of force, and also Assistant Chief Villegas on the less than lethal issue. And departments will work with us on that report and come up with some joint recommendations that we can present to you. So we have decided with the Commission's permission to actually work with them and probably put something out jointly, because I know the department is already trying to field the beanbag shotguns and find a way to have that out there. And I think some of the issues that they are dealing with, we are too, so it may make sense to sit down and work through some of these issues and provide you one report with both perspectives.
And Commissioner, if I could follow up with the Secretary General's remarks, the Chief has directed, and Chief Murphy and Dr. Pennell and their team are continuing research beyond the 40 millimeter, which is an impact device for the audience and those that are listening to this. It's a device that allows officers to some standoff distance in order to employ something like a hockey puck at a distance to effectively overcome a threat that could be something other than a firearm. We have a beanbag, which is a similar type device, but not, and which we are improving the use of it by moving into the front compartment for officers. Both these strategies, in concert with what Chief Murphy indicated with the exploring the use of an alternative OC or rolling capsule spray, Those are what we know about. What we don't know about, and also continue to evaluate the taser and perhaps the use of a different dart for its effectiveness. But beyond that, we're looking to the entire industry in attempting to identify other emerging technologies that strike the balance, that afford the safety of all involved, and lessens the need or necessity for use of deadly force. So that is something that is still being explored.
Yeah, just a couple of things real quickly. What